because this is what it is. It's supposed to be like utilitarian, durable, you know, that off-roady kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Which is a vibe that you embody really well today.
So we're just going to talk about...
I didn't share the script?
Yeah, that's fine though. Welcome to Downshift, everyone. My name is Paulo.
And my name is Matt, and we have spent the week with our first Land Rover loan. So thank you to Land Rover USA for letting us have a go in your Defender 110. We've been thinking about this in context of other hardcore off-roaders that we've driven in the past. Things like Broncos, Wranglers, even G-Wagons, and the more recent Lexus GX. So I'm going to take you on a tour of all of the best and the rest.
Yes, and then we'll go for a ride, talk about standouts, maybe some of the reliability concerns I've had in the past, and how it stacks up to some of those competitors Matt just mentioned.
Let's get into it. The first thing we'll talk about, which will surprise approximately no one, is that, yeah, it's expensive. The Defender here starts at $62,500 for the 110 body style. That's with delivery. But as tested with the S trim and all the goodies that we have here, we're at $82,000 just about. Now, obviously, this is an ocean cheaper than a G-Class from Mercedes, but that's a bit of an outlier. The Lexus GX is much more a closer rival. The Lexus starts at about $65K, so more than the Defender, but it comes with a little bit more kit, and topped out you're around $80K, whereas you can easily break into the 90s in the Defender and even get into the six figures if you like options. So yeah, it's more money, but we kind of expected that. No one's ever told you that the Land Rover is going to be the value option, so it's not here.
And Lexus
but this one is cool.
This one is cool.
The GX is cool, but this one is cool. And when it comes to the engine, you get a 6-cylinder or an 8-cylinder, and both are just a little bit thirsty. Here we have the P400, which is a 3-liter turbocharged inline-6. It's got a 48-volt mild hybrid system, kind of runs an e-supercharger thing. It makes 395 horsepower. That's a little bit more than the GX. And it makes 406 pound-feet of torque. That's a bit less than the GX. But 0 to 60 is still good for under 6 seconds. Now, the EPA says that you're going to get 18 mpg in here, which is technically one less than in the Lexus GX. However, this week, with a little bit of conscientious throttle management, I've been managing just about 21 mpg. But if you want to go for the big power, the V8, the P500, that's comfortably over 500 horsepower, and you can get that in the Octa, which is the same 4.4 twin-turbo V8 that we've seen from BMW. And that 4.4 twin-turbo V8 is responsible for 2 of the 4 fastest lap times that we've set on our track, in the XM label and also the X6M. So, plenty of power. Just a little bit thirsty, but really not actually all that bad, all things considered. And this next point is maybe a little bit unfair, but if I don't mention it in a Toyota video, I get yelled at. And if I'm gonna not mention it in a Land Rover video, I'll get yelled at for a different reason. So I wanna bring up the topic of reliability. Now I have Paulo looking into this because this Defender has been out for a number of years, but I've had it for a week, it's been faultless so far. But there's a reason that Toyota Lexus are the gold standard for mainstream off-roaders and overlanders. There's a reason that they have the reputation that they do. And in the modern era, Land Rover does not have that reputation. In fact, they have the opposite reputation. And that really hurts the whole lineup, but it really hurts things like the Defenders over something like a Range Rover. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about this behind the wheel with Paulo, with a little bit more research to back us up. And when it comes to the trunk, this is a little bit of a double-edged sword here, and I'll explain what I mean. Now, first of all, you have the iconic hard angle for the back tailgate, and you've got the swing out gate because it has the huge off-road tire here. But you've got loads of versatility back here. Chargers, 6 different grocery bag hangers, you've got pockets, you've got straps, you've got an air suspension control button back here to make it easier to put things in and take things out. So in that respect, there's a lot to love about the trunk here. But if we just look at the numbers, this is doing 34 cubic feet with the rear seats up. The GX is going to be slightly bigger, even with the 3rd row equipped, and this does 78.8 cubic feet, so let's call it 79 cubic feet. That's basically the same as the GX, but with the 3rd row. Without the 3rd row, the GX is going to do about 10 more cubic feet at 90. But what I am willing to bet is that with all of the straps and the tie downs and everything going on in the trunk here, you probably have more versatility and more things that you can do to maximize the space in the Defender than in the Lexus. And plus, you're not going to get cool safari windows in the trunk of the GX. But switching gears and talking about all the great things about this Defender, I want to start with the off-road capability. Now, we didn't take this to Road America's off-road park because, to be honest, this car has been out for years and everyone's pretty familiar with the insane capability off-road that it has. But here are some of the highlights. You do have a full-time 4-wheel drive system with an active differential and a rear locker. You've got terrain drive modes with a bunch of different modes, sand, rocks, crawling, the whole thing. This has the cold climate pack that gets you $500. That gets you the heated windshield windshield. Super, super nice, even if you're not off-roading. You get heated washer jets, and you get headlight power washers as well. This also has the advanced off-road pack, $750. That gets you the all-terrain progress control. There's so many things that I can see from my screen here. This has terrain response 2, and it's configurable terrain response. This also has the general off-road pack. It's about $1,500. That gets you the e-active differential, the domestic plug sockets, the off-road tires, the wading sensor. This thing will wade into like over 2.5 feet of water. So it's pretty safe to say that whether it's on the off-road track at Road America or going across Moab or somewhere through Namibia, you're gonna be fine in the Defender. But one of my favorite things, and I'm sure everyone's favorite thing about this, is the styling. It looks classic Defender, but reimagined for modern times. And it's great. Did the Bronco do the retro modern better? I don't know, leave it down in the comments what you think, but I think it looks great here. This does have the Santorini black paint job, which is $1,000 just about, which seems like a lot for black paint, but there's a lot of metal flake in here. It looks pretty good. You don't have metal hood stamping, but you do have plastic, and it kind of mimics the look. But down beneath, you've got 20-inch white steely looking alloy wheels, which are a $1,300 option, but I think kind of fit the personality pretty well. And this comes with the county pack here, as we see, with the blue decals on the door that are $600, the blue roof, which is $1,000, and even your back tailgate is blue. But that rear angle that you get from the tailgate is so iconic, it's so Defender. And you get dual exhaust, but it's tucked up so it doesn't hurt your departure angle. And you've got 4 taillights for legal reasons, and also because they look cool. Sometimes it's just done well, and it is just done well here on the Defender. I love the wheels. I probably would do a different color. They have that like grayish green that I think would look pretty good with these wheels. Maybe the adventure pack with the thing hanging off the C-pillar, but overall, it's a great looking truck. So we talked about how good this thing is off-road, but I was actually really surprised this week at how well this behaved on the road. The powertrain, the engine to start with, it's smooth, it's powerful, it's torquey, that inline 6. You get some intake noise and some turbo noise. The transmission is really smooth and also crisp. It's really pretty good. I have no faults for it. You do have the full-time 4-wheel drive system with the active differentials, and it works well. It gives me that confidence, especially as temperatures are going to start to come down here in Wisconsin. The steering is pretty light and effortless, but it's also kind of purposeful. It has some directness to it, but what it does also give you is it works in tandem with the Air Ride, which is really comfy. It also keeps the car a lot more planted and stable versus something like the GX. This definitely rides better than the G-Wagon, and where the GX is really floaty and boaty, this has a more European take to the ride, and that's to say it's really good. So the $1,600 box to tick for the air suspension, completely and utterly worth it. I think pretty much everyone ticks that box, so definitely do that. But all this comes back to the unibody architecture. Of all the things that we've talked about, this is the only unibody chassis, car chassis one here. And you get a truly luxury experience on the road. It's between this and the Lexus, but with the air suspension and the unibody chassis, this translates to the road a lot better, I would say. And this may be a hardcore off-roader, but that doesn't mean you're missing anything from the tech side. In fact, in a lot of cases, it means you get more stuff, but not including a head-up display, at least not for my tester here. But I do have a fully digital instrument cluster. I've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I've got incredible 360 cameras that do that thing that kind of fill in underneath the car and remember what you drove over, so it looks like you're looking through the body. And you can adjust your 360 cameras to go straight to an off-road cam, which shows your tolerances on either side of the vehicle too, which is super nice, especially for drive-thrus at Culver's. There's very little to no lag in the technology though. Your digital rear view mirror is something that you have here, which is really nice because you've got a tire hanging off the back of the window, but it does have a little bit of reflection from that vertical rear glass. But you've got a wireless charger here. Your safety suite is okay. But to be honest, some of this stuff you can even improve by just spending more money, and ultimately, it's got everything that I want. And then the cabin experience here I think is really pretty cool. You get luxuries like you would expect from a Land Rover, heated and cooled seat, optional. We only got the heated here, but you got a heated steering wheel, and the interior is just kind of cool. You get the safari windows or alpine lights, whatever you want to call them. Everything is rugged though. Everything has that kind of like hard exposed screw feeling to it, but it does it without feeling cheap. That's what the Bronco and the Wrangler, and obviously they're a different price point, but that's what they don't get. The Lexus and the Mercedes are much more conventional luxury, but this does rugged in a luxury way. There's grab handles everywhere, storage everywhere. There's really no gloss black to speak of, and you better make sure you pick the right exterior paint because you're going to see it on the interior here. But you've also got nice, thoughtful creature comforts, like the rubberized dash vent on the passenger side with the USB-C port just right there. This, I would say the Lexus certainly feels more conventionally luxury, similar to the Mercedes, although the Mercedes can sometimes feel a bit chintzy. The Lexus is probably the nicest luxury, but this has an inescapable charm to it, and something that the Lexus doesn't really bring. And when it comes to the back seats here, it's great. I'm 6'1", I've got like 6 inches of knee room. I've got an ocean of headroom, a huge pano roof. I've got safari windows back here, vents, chargers. I can even get heated seats back here. It's like $1,000 option, but a huge and great space in the back of the 110 here. But then a couple odds and ends before we get with Paulo and go for a bit of a drive. In your center console here, we don't have this option, but you can get a refrigerator or cool box here, which I think I tested a couple years ago and it actually got pretty cold. You see the windshield here. It looks like a normal windshield most of the time, but you get really, really close. You see these strafes and these lines in the windshield. These are heating elements. So if you're late for work in the winter in Wisconsin, which is coming up soon, and you've got ice on your windshield, you're not gonna have to mess around with scraping it. You're not gonna have to pour hot water on it because that's gonna shatter your windshield. You just turn on your heated windshield and it'll literally just melt away all the ice way faster than using the vents like most cars do. This is one of my favorite screens. It's so interesting. It's driving style. It's a widget that I have set for the home screen here. Come on. And then you've got different information here. So your fuel economy, your speed, and then your driving score. You've got an energy impact. So what functions in the car, your heated seat, your heated steering wheel, your climate controls, what's contributing to your fuel economy. And then you also have eco tips like apply accelerator smoothly and progressively. You know, this is, it gives you a grade, which is so interesting. And then it keeps track of how well you've done.
Dude, so get this. You want to know how you unlock the passenger side door?
Can I just ask you, is get this your new just listen?
Yes.
Okay.
So get this and listen.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So then you go like this?
Yeah, it's a half pull.
But that, to me, is not intuitive and kind of lame.
You have to know. Like,
yes.
someone will have had to tell you.
But is that just not a little frustrating?
It's just not necessary. It's weird. This has never occurred. This has never happened in my life.
You've never had the passenger needing to unlock?
Not
well,
one
I guess
time.
all the people that have unlocks on the passenger side door are idiots. I don't know why they do that.
I'm not saying that they're idiots. This is a dumb design. I'm just saying this is not a common issue
I
in
think
my
it is.
experience.
I think it is.
I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial. I think you have uncommon issues and an
No.
uncommon amount of time.
No.
You do. Yes, you do.
No, I want to ask if people have similar experiences. It's got good power.
Straight 6.
I like it.
It actually sounds kind of decent upper in the rev range.
Yeah, I think some of that's pumped in though.
Yes. I have really enjoyed this car. Like, I really have. Just looking at it, being in it, I like the interior design. It doesn't say mid $80,000 vehicle to me, or it could be optioned to like well into the 6 figures, but there's a charm to it, I think. What stood out for you this week?
Yeah, I thought it rides really well. Obviously, our first Land Rover loan. But I thought it rides really well, and I think they are making an effort. We'll talk about reliability, but to work on some of those things. I think some of the off-roading features that you get, like the Wade monitoring, the water monitoring system is pretty cool. You have a locking rear, locking center. I did have there is some quirks, I just say, with this vehicle. Like the passenger side doesn't have an unlock. Matt says that that's a problem that not many experience. So I really want to know down in the comments,
It's never been an
do
issue
you
for
guys
me
leverage the unlock button in a passenger side seat? Because that was like one of the first things I noticed of this vehicle.
Put it in terms of years too. How many times a year is this an issue for you?
That someone uses the unlock button in the passenger seat?
Yes.
Pretty often. Probably a few times a month.
A month?
A month. I also think the screen is a little small for...
But the screen is bigger than it was when it first came out, so...
Right, so that's good, but... and then my last little gripe is the volume button is super far away from the driver, which isn't that big of a deal if you could mute on the screen, but you can't. Like if you're at a drive-thru or you're rolling down your window trying to talk to someone. So those are just like really small grievances that I experienced.
Sure.
But I will say...
So that sounds like a lot of negatives. Do you have any positives?
Yes, that's what I'm about to say.
Okay.
It rides really well.
It does.
And I feel like it insulates road noise very well as well. I like the way that it corners. It's got really good power. You know, we talk about the V8 has the BMW engine.
Yeah.
I think that they should just use the B58 in this. It's essentially the exact same straight six, 3-cylinder.
100%.
I guarantee you they would get better MPG than what they're getting now. So why not just borrow from BMW and then also increase the reliability most likely as well?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We were having this conversation a little bit before coming here to shoot. It's like, if you're going to go the BMW route, which they've decided to go, with the V8s at least, you know, Land Rover's whole thing is, this is a cool thing, this is a desirable thing. The only thing that stops people from buying Land Rovers, at least the people that I talk to, is reliability.
Yes.
So if you can put in the B58, just adopt the entire BMW powertrain, the ZF, the straight six, the whole thing.
Right.
That's a bulletproof engine, at least for the most part, from what we've heard. You know, maybe obviously tuned a little bit different, but like, then all of a sudden your biggest pitfall as a brand starts to shrink a little bit.
Right.
And I think that would be huge. That would be huge.
So reliability. So I was doing some research. JD Power, which is like one of the main, I guess, companies out there that measure these sorts of things. In terms of reliability and like defects per 100 cars, basically from 2017 to 2003, they've had the worst reliability score.
As a brand.
As a brand.
Yeah. And this is not going to surprise anyone watching this video. This is a well-documented thing. Land Rovers they have a reliability reputation issue.
But they are working on it.
And
like
they're
you
putting
said,
effort into it, yeah, which is good.
BMW, they have over-the-air updates now. One of their biggest issues in the past also has been like their infotainment system and things like that. So at least now they're able to do over-the-air updates and try and fix any bugs or issues that come up related to that.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think why not try and integrate more of the BMW powertrains?
Yeah, I know that reliability is a big concern for buyers that are looking at this, and also for the brand. I mean, they know what the scores are, they know what the feedback is from consumers, and I think with them trying to make improvements to reliability, and then also in the context of the GX from Lexus that we've been talking about all video, is Lexus is on the other end of the spectrum for the reliability scores.
Right.
The Consumer Reports always has Lexus Toyota up at the top. So that being said, the new F-chassis vehicles, the GX, the Tundra, the LX, you know, these new Toyota body-on-frame trucks and SUVs, they haven't been so bulletproof as they have in the past. And so the question that I want to pose to viewers is like, does that affect how you perceive these brands? And does that gap start to close down a little bit to where you might consider a Defender or a Range Rover? I think for me personally, I'm still probably going to go, just for peace of mind, with the Toyota Lexus umbrella. But there is a desirability to this car that if I had the money and I didn't care about being annoyed with service, I would love this.
I'd get the V8.
Oh, 100% I would get the V8.
Yeah.
The Octa is incredible.
Yep.
The Octa also starts at like 150 grand, which is where, it's funny, but like, whenever Defender videos come out, they're always comparing against the G-Wagon. The G-Wagon starts at 150 grand, and that's just for the straight six. You can't even get a base G-Wagon with a V8 anymore. And to go to the AMG is going to be like 200K, or not exactly, but like, you're also going to pay way more in markup. So I think the Defender Octa, because you get forged carbon and crazy brakes, big tire, the whole thing, I think that actually ends up being a little bit of a value, not in terms of like the Lexus, but that's more of a upper echelon thing.
But that's a good point, because I think the BMW powertrain has more reliability than the Mercedes-Benz in that case. And then I think if you're then just comparing it, if your options were a G-Wagon or the Octa, I then think it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so too. So I guess...
And it's cheaper.
Right, 100%. So I guess at that point, my final thoughts on this would just be, I like the interior. It doesn't necessarily scream uber luxury in the way that the Range Rover does, but that's why the Range Rover exists and this exists over to a different side. They're working on the reliability, which is the only thing that kind of stands out to me as like, it's a bit of a bummer. But the rest of it, back seat's great, trunk's pretty good, big pano roof, it rides and drives really nice, and it looks cool. So
yeah, I think you summarized it.
Okay, well then thank you to Land Rover for letting us have a go. Thank you to you for watching, and let us know down in the comments if you would have the Lexus GX, a G-Wagon, or even go to the Range Rover route over this Defender. So,
and also the passenger side unlock. Let us know about that.
Let us know if that's a big problem for you day to day. But thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.